Hey guys, Jedi Mario 88 here, back with a bit different of a video. So this is not something I typically do. Usually my videos revolve more around me playing games with friends, and then doing some commentary over that, and just editing different parts of it in and out, whatnot. This time I wanted to talk a little bit about something, because I think it's kind of important, and I don't plan on doing a whole lot of these, if any others, but I had found an article that set me a little the wrong way. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit and just give my 2 cents on it, because I think this is important right now to talk about, and it strikes a chord with me personally. So this article, which I'll probably flash up on the screen here, it's why it was so important for my 7-year-old son to see the CNN anchor cry. Now, obviously, this is super politically charged. I'm not even going to get into the political side of this, because that's a whole nother ballgame, and something I don't really feel like getting into. But I do want to talk about how this person is raising her child. I don't want to intercede on someone else's parenting style, but I think that there are some corrections that could be made, some things that need to be learned from this, and just generally some comments I want to make on this. Your son cries a lot, read the note my son's first grade teacher sent home last year. I skimmed ahead looking for the part about my kid failing all his classes including lunch, or the section about how he'd instigated dance parties during math class. You know, the bad news. None of that was there, because he hadn't made any of those choices. The only choice my then 6-year-old had made was to be emotional. I thought about all the times I'd reassured him that all his feelings had value. Now his teacher was sending the opposite message. No. That's not the message she's sending. At all. And it's a good message that you're sending. That your child is okay. That his feelings are okay and that they have value. That is a sign of being a supportive mother, in my opinion. I think that's a good thing, absolutely. But that teacher is not trying to be mean and say that his emotions don't have any meaning behind them, that they aren't important. What she's saying is that he cries a lot. He cries a whole heck of a lot. And immediately when I was reading this struck a chord with me personally. Because when I was that age, I was like this kid. I was really emotional. I cried a lot. And, you know, I don't do that anymore. And I think that is an absolute good thing. Like learning his new math, I've been trying to work out this problem ever since. Can my son, as a boy, be supported in feeling all his feelings? Yes, actually, yes he can. But you don't have to coddle him to do that. Whether my little guy is laughing or crying, he feels his feels fully. In his toddler days, while watching the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh, he cried in earnest when Rabbit was separated from the rest of the 100-acre wood crew. Alright, you know, he's a kid, that's fine. Then there are the moments where he laughs so long he throws up, stops for a minute, and laughs some more. Maybe not so good that he is throwing up, but, you know, it's good that he's laughing at least. My kid is not afraid to feel all his feelings at home, in the grocery store, or even at school, for now. Here's where the issues start to come in, because there's nothing wrong with feeling your emotions. And especially as a kid, you need to be emotionally healthy. But you are getting to the age now, you know, this is 6-7-year-old kid. You need to start teaching him that there are appropriate times to express your emotions, and sometimes when you shouldn't, because it's okay to express your feelings at home. But in the grocery store, it's not okay to pitch a temper tantrum when you don't get everything you want. At school, it's not okay to pitch a temper tantrum, or to, you know, sometimes even to laugh out loud. You have to know when the appropriate time is to do that. To not restrict yourself at all, to not have any self-control, is not a good thing. So let's continue on. When I noticed my son's emotional palette included as many colors as his ginormous Lego sets, I wanted to support him in learning to use them all. Good, that's good parenting. We've talked through why it was okay to feel sad about Rabbit being lost, and explained that laughter created connection. Yep, Good. I never thought to discourage specific emotions for my son simply because of his gender, or that other people might do it for me. Again, that's all well and good. So I didn't set boundaries based on emotional stereotypes or use limiting phrases like boys don't cry in my parenting. Again, this is all good. I could sense how those words would strip him of the confidence he was only just starting to build in his emotional self. I wanted to support his emotional needs. With my husband and family, an immediate family on board, we made the choice to reiterate over and over and over that there's nothing inherently weird or wrong in expressing how you feel. Yep, in our house, we are free to be you and me. And again, in your house, that is perfectly fine. I want to make perfectly clear right now, I am not against guys as a whole, expressing their feelings. Guys should express their feelings. But the point I want to make is that sometimes you have to not express them. Sometimes. I'm not saying keep them always bottled up, but there are times when you have to. I thought others besides my own inner circle would easily hop on board and help me out in my quest to encourage my son in his healthy emotional expression. Instead, when my son's emotions fall outside the traditional male stereotype, he's often met with confusion, gawking stares, and occasionally even scolding because he's not acting like a man. And that, he's not a man yet. He's a little kid. So it's not necessarily right that they're scolding him for that. He has time to mature. I've been surprised that over the years, kids in his class have commented on the fact that he's quick to cry if he's sad. My heart sank at the start of remote learning this year when he told me that he was most nervous about accidentally crying during a Zoom class. Then there are the adults who don't even know my kid but still choose to comment. Alright, if this kid is accidentally crying, he needs to toughen up. I don't care if he's 7 years old. By the time you are making it by this point, you need to be toughening up. Because you are going to be going into school, and you're going to be around other kids your age. And the other kids are going to be brutally honest. Which is exactly what she's saying here. Those kids are brutally honest, and clearly there's a contrast. He's way more emotional than kids his age. If he's nervous about accidentally crying. Usually, if you cry, there's a clear cause, right? You don't just cry on accident. You either have to be hurt physically or emotionally for that to happen. So if he's concerned about accidentally crying, that's a lot. Boys don't cry, the stranger in the coffee shop said to my son, who was super sad that he wasn't getting a chocolate chip cookie. And pause right there, because there it is. This kid is not crying because he's necessarily sad about something. Well, no, he is sad about something, but it's not something worthwhile. He is crying over a chocolate chip cookie. He's crying because he's not getting his way. And that's not acceptable. You need to teach your kid that life isn't always fair, and that if you don't get what you want, you don't break down, you don't throw a temper tantrum, and you don't, just whine about it. You get over it. You just move on. Especially when it's something small like that. And that is something that's really important. Here it's going to get a little bit political, because we have an entire generation of kids who were raised like this. And they're a bunch of pansies now. These are the people who go out and riot and protest in the streets whenever, the other presidential candidate gets elected. And it's just immature. It's immature behavior. But because they're all raised like this, they never grow out of it. They just never seem to grow up and realize, maybe it's not the end of the world. Maybe I can keep living without that chocolate chip cookie. But they don't. They go and they aren't corrected on that, and so they keep whining and complaining about anything that doesn't go their way. Anyway, let's see how this kid's mom reacts. I had been kneeling next to him while he cried, doing my best to validate his feelings when the man decided to weigh in. Pause. First, I want to comment, the boys don't cry remark. No, that's silly. Boys cry. That's just how it is. Even men cry. And there are things that are worthwhile that make men cry. But not things like a chocolate chip cookie. Now, the fact that this mom is trying to validate his feelings instead of just trying to say, hey, I understand you're sad, life isn't fair, get over it, I don't necessarily agree with that. You need to have a balance of being supportive and being the disciplinarian. You know, not just letting your kid walk all over you and be an annoying little brat. Because if this kid is having a breakdown every time he doesn't get his way, that's what he's going to turn out to be. I'm sorry. I'm not going to lie. I'm scared. My son is 7 years old now, and he's at the age where external influences are becoming more impactful, and that's a good thing. Traditional masculine stereotypes are everywhere, and he's looking to those images for inspiration, instead of finding it within himself like he's always done. Where were the heroes for him to look up to and emulate as his sensitive heart grew? I wasn't sure where to look anymore. Okay. There's nothing wrong with looking up to a traditional masculine. To a traditional masculine stereotype. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's a good thing. Because it means when you look up to someone like that you're going to find inspiration in the strength that they show. And it's going to make you stronger as a person to emulate that person's behavior. Personally, I had a karate instructor who I did that with. Maybe even one of the other karate students, one of the older karate students. I could see how strong he was, and this is at the same age as this kid, I could see how strong he was and how he didn't give up, ever. And that's really inspiring. And even if I probably didn't do it consciously, but I followed him. I followed that behavior. And it made me a stronger person. Altogether. As did karate classes in general. Then I found one. She found a role model in Van Jones. When my husband and I first watched CNN anchor Van Jones cry on air after Joe Biden was announced the president-elect, we were moved to tears along with him. His raw moment of honesty grabbed our hearts and we held our breath listening to him speak his truth. Watching this adult man be confident enough to feel his feelings in front of the world made me think of my little guy. I wanted that for him. Pause. I'm not going to get into the political stuff with Van Jones crying. I don't care. But she just goes on to say, basically, and I'll leave a link to this article in the description of my video, just so you can read the whole thing if you want. She basically went and had the kid watch and see this guy crying in front of the whole world, and said, hey, it's okay to be you and to feel your feelings. And I don't necessarily disagree with that statement. It is okay to feel your feelings. You should feel your feelings. But this is again that issue of timing. It is not always appropriate to be emotional. This is a guy who is going out on the world on live television in front of everyone, or I guess everyone who watches CNN. He's supposed to be giving a viewpoint, or actual information. He's not supposed to be going out here and breaking down for the whole world to see. That's not his job. And when he's doing this, he's not really getting his job done. Now, of course, CNN's going to pay him for it anyway, because it's good for ratings. But my point is, you shouldn't be getting this emotional all the time. You need to learn to be strong. This doesn't just go for men. This goes for everyone. You have to, especially right now, you have to be emotionally strong. And I can't stress that enough. This has been a hard year. This has been a hard year for everyone. There have been times where I've gotten down. I've gotten depressed. I've wanted to break down and cry. And you just gotta power through it. And that doesn't mean that you do it alone. That doesn't mean you don't feel sad. It doesn't mean you don't feel any emotions. But what it does absolutely mean is that you don't give up and you don't necessarily break down. You can talk about how you feel with other people. You can still express yourself and not be weak, because you still have that determination to get done what needs to get done, and you're going to do it. And I think more people need that nowadays, because there are too many weak people in this world. There are too many people who let fear and sadness and anxiety control them. And some of that is mental health, and that also needs to be another discussion entirely for those people. But as far as people who don't have those issues, who just bend the knee to the first emotions that come their way, who just give up and they lose their minds as soon as anything bad happens. The people who go out and buy toilet paper in mass as soon as, they get wind that it might be in America. Those are the people who we have too many of. And you don't want to be one of those people. You want to be the person who remains calm and collected and who can keep on top of things even as they're going to hell. And I think I'm just going to leave it with this. This kid is 7 years old. I was 7 years old when I first started taking karate lessons. This is one of the main reasons that this article hit me so hard, is because when I was this kid's age, when I was a little boy just like this kid, I had just started taking karate lessons. My parents signed me up and I started doing this, and it was, probably one of the hardest things that I had done up until that point, especially when I started getting high up in the ranks and when I started getting older and I was being tested more and more and more, and I had to push my limits. And what ended up happening is that it made me stronger altogether, and I have to thank my instructor for that, because he pushed me hard. I was pushed physically to the point of pain, to the points I didn't really know I could even cross, to points I didn't expect to be able to cross. And I was pushed emotionally because I was in pain, or I was just tired and I didn't want to do it anymore, or I was having a hard time. I wanted to cry, and I didn't. And going through that made me a stronger person. And where I am today is so different from where I started, and I am very thankful for it. I am very thankful that my parents put me into those classes, because it made me a stronger person. And I don't know where I would be if I didn't have that strength today. But I don't think I would be in as good of a place. I don't think I would be as good of a person. Now, in contrast, this kid is same age, same situation, more or less. But his parents, instead of teaching him to toughen up, teaching him that life isn't hard, but you have to stay strong, even though my parents didn't do it directly, they still taught me those lessons. His parents, instead of doing any of that, are just going to show him that it's okay to cry, and it's okay to express yourself. And like I said, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but it's a whole different thing. Because they're not going to teach him to get strong. It's the same time frame. It's the same age range. They're not going to teach him to get strong. So where do you think he'll end up by the time he's my age? 10 years from now, 2030, this kid's going to be 17. He's going to be my age. And where's he going to be? He's going to be a fruitcake. He's going to be nuts. He's going to be running around. He's not going to have any emotional strength. He's going to, unless some outside influence comes in and helps him, he's going to probably let his emotions control him. Anytime he gets angry, he's going to throw a temper tantrum. Anytime he gets sad, he's going to break down completely and utterly. And that is no way for a man to live. I'm not one for male stereotypes. I myself am a more emotional person. But men particularly, everyone, but men particularly, have to be strong. Because men tend to be the ones who are out on the front lines when things go to hell. If a war breaks out, who gets drafted? It's men. And they are the ones who are going to get thrown into the hardest positions first. So it is important that they be strong. That's it. Say what you want, call me a sexist. I'm not saying that women shouldn't be strong. In fact, I think they should be too. But as a man, I'm going to hold other men more accountable to be strong. So that was just my 2 cents on this whole thing. Let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. If you like this format, you know, I might do some more if this gets enough support, but I wouldn't count on it. This is just something that I saw and I thought I wanted to comment on. So anyway, if you like this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Try to take to heart what I said. If you want to talk about anything I said, just start a discussion down in the comments. And yeah, I think I'll leave it there. See you in the next video. Peace.